Hi guys, so I just wanted to comment on some of the footage you're probably seeing coming out of Italy, and I just want to give you a bit of context about what's happening where I am. So this is Naples in Italy. It's in the south of the country. It's the poorer south, where many of the industries are tourist based, and these of course have been greatly impacted by the pandemic. And now the government are talking about, or they have imposed from Monday, a 30-day restriction where restaurants, bars will have to close at 6 p.m. in the evening. Now you have to remember that in Italy most people eat between 7 and 8 p.m. in the evening, so restaurants will lose a huge amount of business. In the northern part of Italy, where most of the industries are located, it's they're faring a little bit better because industries are allowed to stay open. Factories are staying open, although it can be argued that they are part of the spread of this pandemic as well. So I'm just going to show you some of the footage especially in the south of Italy. It has turned violent, and we're seeing civil unrest. And this is, you can probably look at this and imagine, well, this isn't going to come to where I am, but I think you'd have to reconsider that. So you can see here crowds marched through the streets chanting as the curfew began at 11 p.m. Now the curfew is at 11 p.m, but bars and restaurants are closing at 6 p.m. instead. So you can, as you can see on the screen, protesters threw stones at police and set rubbish bins on fire, and people were throwing all types of missiles at the police. What's happening, particularly in the south of Italy, in Naples in particular, is there are a large number of different groups getting involved in these protests. So far in the north of Italy, most of the protests have been peaceful, but in the south they have been taken over to a certain extent by people who are linked to the mafia. They've also been taken over by groups who, for political reasons. For example, anarchists and the far right have taken part in these protests. Look, the majority of these protests are peaceful. They're mainly by people who are concerned about their livelihoods, concerned about their jobs, because many bars and restaurants have, of course, had to close, so they've laid off their staff. Unfortunately, in the south of Italy in particular, a lot of people work in the black economy, so people will have been working for restaurants and bars, but being paid in cash to avoid taxes, basically. And they will not be registered, so it's very difficult for them to get government assistance, because of course they're not registered with the government, they're not paying taxes. Not because they decide to do that, but in many cases business owners say, look, if you want to work for me, you have to work in cash. And this is a big problem in the south of Italy, and it's also a big problem because of what the local mafia are doing. The mafia are getting involved with these protests. They're trying to influence them. They're trying to dominate them, in a sense, to show that we're in control. We are the ones organizing these protests, and what they want eventually from that is not very clear. So the Campania region is where Naples is located. It's the region with the capital city being Naples. And it went into lockdown on Friday. So you can hear the people shouting libertà, meaning freedom or liberty. Unfortunately, you can also see that a lot of people are not maintaining social distancing, or some of them are wearing masks. A lot of them are not wearing masks. Once again, you have these groups, these protests that are infiltrated by, anarchists, the far right, mafia, and also anti-vaxxers and anti-mask people who want to stamp their authority on these protests as well, which is extremely problematic. Unfortunately, many people have been basically thrown under a bus by the government, because during the first lockdown, the vast majority of people followed the rules, agreed with the lockdown, understood that it was necessary. But unfortunately, the government didn't prepare for the second wave. They were not prepared for another spike, even though scientists and many people were predicting that a second wave was coming. And now that the government is being forced once again to impose new restrictions and probably a full lockdown once again. Look, I've said this before. A second lockdown is coming. If the number of new cases are increasing all the time, then we're going to see another lockdown. We can't avoid it. Now, this is what's happening in Naples. This is going to spread like the pandemic to different parts of the country in Italy, and I see it spreading to other parts of the world as well. People are starting to feel a lot of pressure. Governments are running out of money. Governments are loading themselves up with debt that will eventually have to be paid off. And we're going into a new year with a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen in 2021. We don't know if we're going to be able to deal with this pandemic. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know how many jobs are going to be going to be lost, how many people are going to be laid off, how many businesses are going to close. This is a difficult time, and unfortunately a lot of bad actors are trying to take advantage of the situation. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?